Join me now, the one and only JD Hayworth. JD, thanks for being with us right here after the State of the Union. So, are you fired up or what?
Well, I will tell you this. I really appreciated what the president did last night. You and I've talked about it before. You can't spell Trump without TR. And in much the same way Theodore Roosevelt brought energy to the executive. What was that criticism his daughter Alice had? Daddy has to be the bride at every wedding and the corpse at every funeral. Well, look, a lot of us in politics and broadcasting and in public life crave attention. But if we accept TR's premise of the presidency as a bully pulpit, and remember, TR in the context of the turn of the 20th century was talking about a great pulpit, not to bully people, maybe to influence them. But what we had last night, a little different metaphor. We had President Trump use the bully pulpit for an altar call, beginning with the gold medal hockey team, continuing throughout, and in the issue that causes me great concern about the economy and affordability, there was the president citing and mentioning and introducing Catherine Rayner, a military wife. You were talking about our fine guardsmen up there in D.C. A lot of recognition of those who are giving of themselves, and in the case of Catherine Rayner, she was paying for a fertility medicine, something like $4,000, but Trump RX allowed her to drop that to about what, $400, $500. Now look, there's still a long way to go, and as you were mentioning, Johnny, action. The president also said to both the House and Senate, codify my most favored nation executive order. Get that into law. And here's the new action item. I believe that both chambers are going to work on this because, especially last night, the left painted into a corner by their atmospheric intransigence. In other words, staying seated, not applauding until the end of the State of the Union. Somebody, I guess, sent out the memo. Oh, you might want to stand up now. Um, but it's what happened when I first got to Congress. Now, the shoe was kind of on the other foot. Down at the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, there was Bill Clinton. He didn't want to go with us on welfare reform. But as the election of 96 came closer, he said, well, now I better rethink this. He came along with us. Here we have President Trump saying, come with me on this, and the Congress will get involved. But understand, you and I talked about it last time. Big Pharma has spent millions of dollars setting new records for influence. So here's what we have to watch out for. When a piece of legislation comes forward, we can't have it go into conference, have a vote on each floor of the two different chambers, and then suddenly hear, well, we got into conference and we just couldn't keep it there. Mark my words, Big Pharma is working overtime to dodge any responsibility for the huge increase in prices that we see year in and year out.
Mm-hmm. So, how do we stop them?
Well, this is where you at home and on the road listening on the radio come in. You need to call your member of Congress and your United States Senator and say, look, you want to talk affordability? President's done a good job. He wants to do a good job here on prescription drugs. Don't stop him from that. What was that Reagan said about the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue? When they feel the heat, they see the light. You and I discussed the polling already. We have found that more than a supermajority, what was it, 86% of American voters in the upcoming midterm want to back a candidate for the House, whether incumbent or challenger, and ditto for the Senate, standing up to Big Pharma. So this is what is vitally important. The president is right on this. He deserves a lot of credit, but now it's time for Congress to follow through.
What do you think of Trump RX?
I was listening to Congressman Griffith, and I guess we'd call it South Central Virginia. I
Right.
had two great aunts that lived right there in Christiansburg, not far
Oh
from
yeah, yeah.
Frankfurt.
That's
And,
right in
and
this
now
district. Yep.
that interstate that's there, when I was a
81.
little kid, it was under construction. And we probably shouldn't have done this, but Dad, come on, let's go ride the new. Nobody was there. Trump has built it, and in stark contrast to Gavin Newsom's multi-billion-dollar train to nowhere, Mr. Trump has put in place the infrastructure, not for a field of dreams, but a device to lower drug costs. And now the legislation has to be there. This is absolutely important. The American people know it. They say in recent polling, when you talk about affordability, number one on the list is the high cost of health care. And time and again, it comes to prescription drugs. Again, John, you and I talked about it as that crystal orb fell there in New York's Times Square on New Year's night, New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. Big Pharma raised prices on close to 1,000 medicines and raised prices exceeding the rate of inflation. This is the culprit. The American people get it. The president gets it. And it is up to Congress to move forward to say, no, we're not going to do a dog and pony show. We have to deal with it. And, you take a look, we've got the numbers now for the direct to consumer marketing. In other words, radio and TV ads, but also on the internet when you get the videos, $9 billion. $9 billion they spent last year. Is that sustainable? Well, it's not if the people wake up. It's not if Congress moves forward with bipartisan legislation to end the tax advantages Big Pharma gets for that advertising. If some of my friends are worried about the First Amendment, well, here's the way you deal with it. You say, well, we'll just slap the taxes on it. You ought to be paying us for this kind of thing. But just imagine if these billions of dollars were instead channeled into discounts for the American people. You may have heard Secretary Kennedy last night, one of the post-speech interviews, and his numbers, I'll paraphrase, he said, look, the American people were about 3 to 4% of the world's population. We are footing over 70% of the costs of prescription drugs. That has got to change. And just as the president last night said, the other NATO countries are going to pay up now and pay their fair share. It is time for the American people to quit soldiering upon our shoulders and digging out of our wallet to pay for subsidies to other developed nations. The bottom line is this: it comes back to price and to affordability. On average, we're paying 3 times what consumers in the rest of the developed world are paying for prescription drugs. Not opposed to profits, but opposed to profiteering, John. That's what has to be reined in. The president is right on this. It is time for Congress to get the message. And the best way is for those listening and other citizens to get involved in this process, talk directly to their member of Congress, their U.S. senator, or candidates running for those posts.
JD Hayworth with us here on the John Fredericks Media Network. He's a spokesman for PRA, also former U.S. House Rep, Arizona. JD, what do you think of, would you be in favor of getting rid of all these pharmaceutical ads on TV? I mean, they're just, you're bombarded with them.
Well,
60,
we saw them
60
last
second
night
ads.
in the coverage, right?
Why don't you, can we just, I mean, there's only 2 countries that allow them, us and New Zealand. Why don't we just ban them?
Well, that's right. We really have to take a look at that. And moreover, again, on the internet. Now, I look back to our first days as the internet was expanding, those of us in Congress on both sides of the aisle kind of understood that the power to tax is the power to destroy. We stepped back. The internet was kept wide open and free. Well, how were we rewarded? The better angels of men's nature did not take over. Remember, we have seen certain companies invite Chinese computer experts to come in and try to censor political dialogue in the United States. Now, look, we have had prohibitions on all sorts of advertising, but it's so loosey goosey right now on the internet and direct to consumers. Even those crazy little almost sotto voce warnings. Avoid this product because it could, if you're allergic to it, it might cause death. I mean, I would imagine all that stuff goes by the boards.
My God.
So it is an abuse.
I mean, I actually heard an ad on Sunday that they played over and over. I was watching one of my Maryland baseball team that over and over, and they had the ad is 20 seconds and the disclaimer is 40 seconds, right? And of course, during the disclaimer, they're showing the lady just doing good things. They're so happy. But then at the end of the disclaimer, it said, blah, 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 could cause death. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Like I'm going to ask your doctor for this prescription when you see him. It could cause death. It's like, okay, well, I could die from it, but I guess I'll ask my doctor.
After the case, yeah. How do you change that? It shows. I had a great professor at NC State who said, understand that at times there's a separation between morality and legality. Well, in this case, there's a separation between what is legal and what is logical. What good is that warning if somebody takes the medicine and dies? Now, look, and I know that hey, look, I'll raise my hand. I depend on pharmaceuticals. The American people do as well. It's part of a health plan. But you have to understand this. The prices have to come down. The American people have to quit taking it on both ends, not only in these huge prices, John, but also in terms of what's going on with what we pay out through our public system for research and development. It's funny. I saw one of the items I was looking at and studying up to come spend time with you. If existing patent law was applied the way it was intended, you'd have savings of close to 85% on some of these medicines. And what we're also finding out, because we're getting all the red tape and the runaround on some of these drugs, all the talk from Big Pharma about research and development, in some cases, with some of the medicines, they have reduced their research by up to 75%. So again, profiteering is going on, not profiting, which we all believe in. And all we're asking is to Big Pharma, be good citizens, have a sense of civic duty to your fellow Americans. You may be multinational corporations. Yeah, you're spending a lot of dough in China.
I love your enthusiasm. But they don't give a rat's ass about anybody but making more money. They could care less. That's why you got to rein them in. You got to basically legislate them in as they don't care. They've been making all this money for so long. It's like a rite of passage for them. But you're right on everything.
As well, we heard our friend from Southwest Virginia, the 9th District, a little earlier. I was thinking back in the old days as Virginia is poised to become California of the East again. I think about back in the 70s where you had a member of Congress, I won't mention his name, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said about Washington and about lobbying. He said, if you can't eat their food, drink their libations, and enjoy the company of various folks, and then not vote against them the next day, what good are you? and that's what's going on with the American people. Take it from me, as a guy who's been there, your highest duty is to use your best judgment And I know we do a lot of talking, but the good Lord gave us two
Oh,
ears
come
and
on,
one
man. The
mouth.
Democrats.
Listen to your
The Democrats do
constituents.
whatever Hakeem Jeffries tells them to do. It doesn't give
Well,
us their judgment.
I
JD, I
think
gotta go. I gotta go. People want to
okay,
follow
thank you.
you. Where do they
Far,
go, JD?
PharmaReformAlliance.com. Thanks, Johnny.
Always good to have you. Love your attitude, though. You're the eternal optimist, JD Hayworth. Actually thinks the Democrats will vote their conscience.
Some
Oh
key
my God.
Democrats will.
You're the I
Watch
know
me on
that's
this.
why I love you, man. You always try to find a good in people, but there's no good with that sourpuss
I'm not
bunch.
talking that there may be a handful in the House.
There's
There may
nobody.
be a handful in the House. You got to work it.
Zero. There's zero.
You watch and see. We'll keep talking about
You
it.
ain't gonna get a
Pharma.
Democrat vote, dude. They're gonna do
Well,
whatever Hakeem Jeffries
well,
says.
look at this. What we know, the polling shows us this isn't a Republican issue or a
They
Democrat
don't care
issue.
about
It's
the
an
polling.
American issue.
Dude, I gotta go. I
All
love you
right,
though.
pal.
I really do.
PharmaReformAlliance.com.
The Peach Crew is next. Stay with us.